Headlines. In a few minutes, we'll be speaking to our senior political affairs reporter, Dancan Khaemba, who has been on the ground covering the political party primaries that have been taking part in the past 2 weeks. Dancan Khaemba will be giving us a review of what the country has learned so far and what the way forward will be in the electoral process for the August 8th general election. Welcome to KTN Newscentre. My name is Michelle Ngale, but let's begin with those news making headlines. And Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has expressed his concern over the over-reliance of hydro and thermal power in the country, terming it too expensive. And with prolonged drought, which has seen water levels in various dams drop sharply, Uhuru has termed the situation as serious and worrying. Speaking in the geothermal-rich area of Olkaria in Naivasha during the groundbreaking ceremony of the 158-megawatt plant, Uhuru said his government will do more to enhance geothermal power capacity. The Olkaria plant has been funded by the Japanese government at a cost of 41 billion shillings. Uhuru also launched 14 wells ahead well unit in Olkaria, which will add an extra 75 megawatts to the national grid energy. Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter said that Kenya was now ranked number 7 worldwide in terms of geothermal production.
In their innovation, and indeed a success story, and we have had to wait between 5 and 7 years from the drilling of the first well to the installation of a geothermal plant. Now we have seen that we can cut that period to between 2 and 3 years by using the wellhead units.
Masinga Dam, we closed it down about 3 weeks ago. We've lowered our production in terms of the hydro. We are now doing a dispatch of about less than 30% to the grid. Geothermal is about 54%. Now we are using another thermal which is almost 25%, Your Excellency. So you can see without geothermal, we will be paying very expensive as a country. It will be a tariff of about 22 cents. So we are working to make sure that even the 7 cents, Your Excellency, we lower it to even 3 cents, Your Excellency.
Meanwhile, nominated aspirants paralyzed business in Nakuru town for hours yesterday in a celebratory procession to thank voters for voting them in. They were led by Susan Kihika, who won the Senate nomination, and Lee Kinyanjui, who won the governorship nomination. Take a look.
Hapa Nakuru mulirusha kura peke yake na mukapata viongozi watakaoongoza nyinyi katika kipindi cha miaka 5. Kwa hivyo kwa niaba ya viongozi ambao wamesimama hapa, tunataka kusema asante kwa wapiga kura wa Nakuru.
Na wauliza mtokee kabisa tarehe 8 August. Tuanase by saa 3 hivi. Si ndio hiyo? Hiyo maneno tumaliza na turudishe Uhuru na Ruto State House. Na Nakuru tuko na kura milioni 1. Tuwapatie kama 950,000. Si ndio hiyo?
Gumbo have warned of a rebellion against the Orange Democratic Party in Nyanza over the just-ended party nominations. The two leaders said the party must move with speed to resolve what they termed as massive irregularities in the nominations or face revolt from the voters. Midiwo, the deputy leader of minority in the National Assembly a long-time ally of party leader Raila Odinga, is said to have lost to Nairobi businessman Elisha Odhiambo. Nicholas Gumbo reportedly lost to Siaya Governor Cornel Rasanga. They say the mess in the party's nomination will affect Raila's performance in the August 8th elections. The two leaders, who were accompanied by the county woman MP aspirant Florence Adodo, addressed several rallies in Gem constituency.
They brought the partisan returning officers who have changed figures. Instead of giving us our figures, they have changed those figures. and that is what we are protesting. Our party has been at the forefront in advocating democracy and the right of the people to choose people that they prefer. It cannot be possible that the people of Siaya go out to vote and the results which are read have no bearing whatsoever towards the people, the votes that the people cast. I also love you people because I know he carries the aspirations of the people of Kenya. That's why I do it. The wonderful soldiers money. If they can do that to me, will they protect your rights as an individual? No. If they cannot protect my rights, I can assure you, they will not protect the lives of Kenya. Therefore, they must do the right thing. The party must do the right thing.
Well, our senior political affairs reporter Dancan Khaemba now joins us on KTN Newscentre to review the political party primaries that have been taking place in the country. Dancan, good to have you in studio. You have been covering extensively these party nominations, and of course you've been able to see what the different parties have done from the opposition to the ruling administration. Let's begin with ODM, because they are still continuing with their nominations tomorrow. The Nairobi preparations now ongoing. Your thoughts on that process, especially the reason that was given for the cancellation last time, that goons had attacked the warehouse where ballot material was being stored?
Yes, we are hoping to get in touch with the ODM Director of Communication, Philip Etale, maybe just to tell us what has been made between the arrangements or the preparations that have been made between Friday and tomorrow. Remember that tomorrow is the last day, but looking at how Jubilee went, it's of course the same Nairobi, it will be the same polling stations, the same, almost the same number, because I think all parties are only using, as long as you have a national ID and you are in the IBC register, and then you can participate. But we want to know, Etale, if you could be joining us on phone, if you can hear me, Etale, we want to know, Kisumu, we understand that Governor Rasanga and Senator Anyang' Nyong'o have been given until Tuesday to dialogue, or rather to strike a consensus and then give the party a position. Is that true, or what do we expect in as far as the Kisumu standoff is concerned, Etale?
All right, I don't think we have a tele on phone just yet. We will try get him a bit later on. But let's continue with these nominations, because in the case of ODM, there's been a lot of disputes, especially in the Nyanza region. In Kisumu, for example, we had Jack Ranguma as well as Anyang' Nyong'o both being given the certificate. And word coming in now is that ODM has asked them to come to a consensus among them. How is this likely to play out?
It will be interesting. One, the senator and the governor, for the last 5 years, they've been embroiled in serious wars. Of course, it had all the indications that it was tailored towards the 2017 general election. And then they had camps, and of course, the deputy governor, she's rumored to have been supporting Nyong'o's push so that she can be the running mate for Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. Now, in the event, that's why I thought that perhaps Etale will get him on phone to confirm whether it's true or not. If that is the case, then it will complicate matters, because they had camps. We had Team Ranguma, and then we had Team Nyong'o, which had Fred Outa, the Rosa Buyu, Ruth Odinga. So in the event that they are told to agree, most likely they'll be told one to be the governor, the other one the deputy, and most likely Ranguma could maintain the position, then Nyong'o the deputy governor.
All
so
right.
that will in a way complicate matters.
All right, let's hear more from ODM's Director of Communications, Philip Etale, now joins us on phone. Etale, many thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the preparations for the Nairobi nominations tomorrow. There were issues last time when goons seemingly stormed the house the warehouse where the ballot materials were being kept. What is ODM doing different this time to ensure security in the nominations?
Preparations for Nairobi nominations are in top gear. And this is the last exercise we are holding in a series of exercises we've been holding since the 13th of this month. And last time there was a problem with election material when some youth stormed the warehouse where they had been stored and made away with some ballot papers, and that caused a lot of confusion. leading to the cancellation of the exercise. But this time around, we've put in place stringent measures. We've ensured that there's enough security. We've talked to the National Police Service to provide enough security personnel to ensure the exercise goes on smoothly. And, the announcement last week, early this week, that the exercise will be supervised by the deputy party leader, the governor of Mombasa, Honorable Hassan Joho.
Etale, if I can ask you now that you've told us Nairobi's its all systems go and the deputy party leader Joho will take charge. Bring us up to speed in as far as Kisumu is concerned. Word has it that the sitting governor Jack Ranguma and the Senator Anyang' Nyong'o have been given until Tuesday to agree between them and give the party the position on who will be the candidate Kisumu.
That may have been a decision by the tribunal that was looking into the matter. There is a petition that was filed with regard to the results that were announced in Kisumu, where two winners were given provisional certificates. So that may have been made by the tribunal, but it has not been communicated officially to the National Elections Board, because I only communicate what has been given to me by the National Elections Board. So I'm waiting for the National Elections Board to talk to me about it, and I'll be able to communicate to the public about the resolutions of the tribunal. But I've seen it, it's doing rounds of social media and sections of the media, and I believe that will be communicated, will be transmitted to the National Elections Board.
Just to clear that up, ODM has not asked for any consensus between Ranguma and Anyang' Nyong'o?
That may have been decided at the tribunal level, but until it is transmitted to the National Elections Board, we are not in a position to talk about it, because the National Elections Board is the only one that can talk about that after the decision by the tribunal. The tribunal is an organ formed by the National Elections Board, so they have to report to the National Elections Board any decision they make, and we are waiting for that to be communicate to the National Elections Board.
Etale, tomorrow is the final day for parties to conduct their primaries. In Migori, where I was, we had two winners being actually unveiled within a span of 1 hour. We had Okoth Obado, we had Ochilo Ayako. Then yes. Homa Bay, again, it's not clear, and we have less than 24 hours before the exercise comes to an end. What is the status state of affairs with regard to these two counties?
Duncan, there will be a communication that's been made later this afternoon with regard to the two counties, Migori and Homa Bay. I know a lot of people are very anxious to hear what this communication will be, but we are waiting. We are also crossing our fingers to know what the National Elections Board and the party's top organ have decided with regard to these two counties, because we have only a day to clear with the nominations. Tomorrow is the final day, and there is no any other day when we can hold these nominations. So we are waiting for this afternoon. We'll be inviting members of the media, and this announcement will be made.
All right, and let's focus also on the issue in Siaya, because now GEM MP Jacob Midio and his Varieda counterpart Nicholas Gumbo are now warning of a rebellion for ODM in Nyanza, saying that there were a lot of irregularities in this nomination process. How is ODM planning to deal with this issue?
Well, that one is being handled by the National Elections Board. As I said, all these appeals have been, I hear what the aspirants has already appealed to the National Elections Board for these results to be looked into and the irregularities to be addressed. But as we say, we only have less than 24 hours to the conclusion of the exercise. So we expect the tribunal to expedite hearings, and if there will be a repeat or if there will be any decision they want to make, they should make that decision right before close of business today, so that the right decision by the National Elections Board can be made in the press conference that they will be releasing later in the afternoon today.
Etale, the final question, Nyali, of course we know that one of the candidates, Mohammed Ali, petitioned the results. What about Nyali?
The tribunal listened to both parties, and the matter was referred to the National Elections Board, and the National Elections Board this morning is meeting members of the Central Committee to make a decision on that particular issue. So we should be expecting, it's going to be a heavy statement that will be released this afternoon. So a lot of all those issues will be addressed in that press statement that will be released in the afternoon. So Kenyans should await communication from the National Elections Board with regard to various areas where petitions have been filed and decisions made.
All right, thank you so much. Philip Petale is ODM's Director of Communications, clearing up a few things in the wake of these party primaries. Preparations for the nominations in Nairobi, according to Petale, are ready to go and everything seems to be set. And there will be communication later in the afternoon with regard to the situation in Homa Bay and Siaya. A lot of contention there as to who clinched what ticket and whose certificate is the one that will be recognized by ODM. So Khaemba, all this being said, ODM, of course, being the last one to conduct these party nominations, let's talk about the lessons that the party needs to learn, and, of course, other political parties as large as we head to the elections.
I think, Michelle, one thing we have to give it to ODM, I think it was in their wisdom why they wanted to start early. And I think IBC, at some point, they might be actually pinching themselves as to why they had to compress ODM to compel ODM to begin the nomination process from 13th. Had they begun as planned earlier on 7th, and then I think for the 3 weeks they would have really done a lot in terms of trying to actually revisit areas where there are issues, because you can see now, I'm sure Jubilee is regretting as to why they had initially decided to do in one day, and then they had the mix-up, because as of last evening, Jubilee, we were told that they had over 300 petitions which they have to handle. And of course, for ODM, you can see they've been trying where there have been issues. They've been repeat elections. Like yesterday, we had around 9 areas where they were doing the repeat. So I think this could be the essence or the reason why perhaps ODM wanted to have it within 3 weeks, because it would have actually handled all these issues, dealt with them where their people are dissatisfied, you go back. But I think going forward, the parties will learn that next time perhaps they will have to request IEBC to give a longer period, then perhaps they'll know that staggering the whole process could be a remedy to some of the issues that are arising.
Right. I mean, let's also focus on the issues that they had, because most of the issues that ODM faced were in their strongholds of Nyanza as well as the coastal region. And in the Nyanza region, we're seeing, more than one candidate being awarded a particular certificate. You were covering the nominations in that area. What led to such situations?
I think the question of, to be specific, Migori and Kisumu, I think it's about people being naughty, and that we call it having that trick. A card that you have to put under the table, because you'll find that the bona fide members at some point, like in Migori, they deserted the process. Then what happens? There cannot be a leadership vacuum. So I think the next in line, they had to move in and do what was supposed to be done. Only after the whole process, then the real one comes and says, I am the one who is recognized by the party, and therefore what I issue is what is final. Yes. You'll ask yourself, whereas the one that issued Ochilo Ayako with that and says they had the results, where were they? Because they were not at the tallying center. But the truth of the matter is, that is the person whom the party had picked. But he sort of left his workstation. The deputy took charge. Now the deputy, having gone through that experience, being mobbed, roughed up, and then delivering the result that he delivered, the one who had left the workstation comes and says, I'm the official one, I have to give. The same to Kisumu. Now you'll ask yourself, this is just a trick, because they knew if they pull the card and say, the party, whom do you recognize to issue the final verdict is Michelle. Was Michelle there or not? That is the material. That is what the candidates will say. So long as this is Michelle that had to do that, you cannot say, Khaemba, do it.
All right, so these are different returning officers, but at the end of the day, you would expect then, whether it's you or me, we're both reading from the same script and the results are the same. So how is it then in that situation that the deputy and the returning officer were reading different results?
Because at one point, the official one was not there. The deputy took charge, not only for the official one to come and say, I'm the one who is mandated. Truth of the matter is, the party had sent an official to oversee with a deputy. The official at some point left. The deputy remained. The deputy, having gone through the process, tallied, then issued, the real one emerged and say, my say is final. And that's the problem. If you've listened to a tally, it is a behavior of activity at the National Elections Board, at the tribunal, because some of these things were politics is about tactic.
Right.
They were very, very tactical and all that.
And we saw a lot of politics at play, even with the returning officers, some going missing, some saying there may be threats on their lives, some just, switched off their phones and went under and have not been seen since. And it is especially important because the returning officer has the power really to decide the perception of the electorate on the ground. So talk to us about the politics that was at play there and how the returning officers were caught in the middle.
I think for the returning officers, it's difficult, but I think we'll have to wait for the communication. If I've clearly listened to the director of communication, there are around 4 communications that we expect the verdicts to be delivered. But when you look at the bigger picture, by and large, I think parties, particularly Jubilee, you have to give it to them. They've sent home many, actually the highest number of sitting leaders. For instance, in Nandi, a sitting governor, a woman representative, 3 members of parliament, and all MCAs have been sent packing. In Kiambu, all MCAs save for one who had decided to go for the senatorial race. Then, like in Nyeri County, all members of parliament have gone home except one, that is Kanini Kega. So it is a shock, of course, with some governors that have gone down. We know Kirinyaga, we know Kiambu, we know Nandi. So I think by and large, Kenyans could be making a statement, perhaps all they would want are results, if that is the case.
Speaking of Kenyans making statements, we've had Jacob Midio and Nicholas Gumbo now saying that the manner in which the primaries are conducted, especially for the ODM party, is something that might affect Raila's performance in the August 8th general election. A lot of disgruntled aspirants, a lot of disgruntled supporters as well. Looking at history in politics, because you've done this for quite a while, is this likely to reflect on the 8th of August?
It had similar mistake cost ODM in 2013, but I think this time round I don't think it will have that bigger effect, because you've seen in areas where there have been disputes, the party has done its best, either do the repeat or go through the tribunal, and depending on the outcome, at least people will have to give it to Raila that, unlike in 2013, he's not interfered, but whatever will cost him dearly will be Homa Bay, how the party, how the National Elections Board and the tribunal handles Migori, handles Homa Bay, and then Kisumu, because that is where actually he has his skin there, and then people will think that perhaps whatever way the outcome goes, it could be actually skewed to suit family interest. And now it is interesting to see what will happen, particularly Siaya, where the brother is involved, Kisumu, where the sister is in one of the camps.
All right. And of course, this is the first time we've seen Jubilee Party conduct its primaries. A flop the first time they tried, but then they had a take 2, and it went rather well, so to speak. But moving forward, should political parties continue to carry out their own nominations, or should there be a parallel body mandated just for that?
I think it's political parties, because you can imagine the fiasco that we've witnessed with Jubilee and ODM, to be specific, even Wiper. If it was IBC, that should IBC have agreed to conduct that process, you can imagine the kind of condemnation they would have gotten from Kenyans. Then that is the same body that you expect to do the results. So parties, bottom line, should just get their acts right and then do their own primaries.
All right. Dancan Khaemba is a senior affairs political reporter. Senior political affairs reporter, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Dancan. And that brings us to a close here on KTN News Center. My name is Michelle Ngele. Do stay with us. I'll be back at Weekend at 1 with more.